Welcome to the Behaviour Smart Podcast, brought to you by Behaviour Smart, the incident recording system that improves behaviour. In this episode, we will be talking to Kieran Mace. Kieran has been through the care system, and today he will talk to us about his experiences, his highs, and his lows. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the Behaviour Smart Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of the Behaviour Smart Podcast. My name is Dean Cotton. I am a behaviour consultant, a trainer, an author, and the CEO of Behaviour Smart. Now, when I was considering producing a podcast, I thought about who I could invite, and really there was only one person who could be my very, very first guest. And I am so privileged and honoured to welcome this person because he's got an amazing story. You're going to absolutely love it. And please welcome Kieran Mace. I'm going to start off just by setting the scene, and then you can tell us the rest, because something really bizarre happened to me. I'll tell you now that Kieran is an ex-pupil of mine, and I worked with Kieran when he was 11 years old, up until he was 11 years old. And then our school shut down, and I never saw Kieran again. And then about 6 months ago, I had a phone call in the middle of the night, 10 past 12 at night, and the phone went dead. So I thought that were a bit bizarre. And then I got a text message that said, "I'd like to speak to Dean Cotton, please." So I phoned them back, and he said, "I'm really sorry. I thought I were going to get an answer phone or something like that. And I didn't know what to do when you picked the phone up." And I said, "Who is it? Who is it?" And he said, "It's Kieran." He didn't even have to tell me his surname. I knew exactly who it was. Now, Kieran started to tell me his story, and I just said, "Hang on a minute, you've got a Liverpudlian accent." And he said, "Yeah, I live in Liverpool." And I said, "Well, I'm in Liverpool tomorrow. I want to take you out for a meal." And he said, "No, I'll take you out for a meal." I still ended up paying, but yeah. But Kieran told me his story, and I was so taken back by his story because it's so moving. And Kieran has been doing some work for me since. So he's been a person with lived experience for the Restraint Reduction Network. And he was also a keynote speaker at a conference that I was a keynote speaker at. And in one sense, I was really proud because his keynote speech was amazing. And in another sense, I was a bit upset because it was way better than mine. So, Kieran, thank you so much for being my first guest on the Behaviour Smart Podcast. And
pleasure.
So I worked with you when you were 11, and Broadhome School closed, and we never saw each other for
18 years.
Yeah. So what happened once you left Broadhome School?
So I went on to move to a different school, same type of school, different area. Yes. It was more modernised.
SEMH.
Yeah, still SEMH. Yeah.
Yeah, Sheffield closed their SEMH provision and opened 2 new schools, and you went to one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just before we start talking about school, you were brought up in foster care. So what happened there? How did you end up in foster care, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I know that my dad at the time was in custody. I know that my mum was subject to pre-proceedings before my birth. And that's basically how I ended up in the care system.
So when you came to the school where I worked, you were in foster care there?
Yeah, I was on a long-term placement. I was with a foster carer there.
I don't know much about your life after that. So,
well, when I went to Heritage Park, there was a change in setting. I think it probably impacted on my behaviour in school, which was admittedly poor to begin with. So I think that reflected more poor behaviour. So I think I was getting excluded more, and my carer at the time couldn't cope with me. So I ended up getting put into like respite care. So I was moved around quite a lot. I was moved from like Barnsley, Doncaster, Rotherham, Sheffield. It was all Yorkshire-based like housing.
Yeah.
And then I got into, obviously through that, I got into more like care home settings. I met a few more people, which led me to meet other people, which led me back to my family. And at the time, my family were involved in a lot of criminal activity, and I was kind of roped into all that. It started off small. I was getting little reprimands from like smashing up school. That's how my criminal like life started. Really, just like shouting, damaging property, just an angry child, really. It was only when I turned into my early teens that I started getting more involved in more violence and more drug crime and stuff like that, and ultimately led to a murder. So
yeah. So do you want to tell us a bit about that? How that led to a murder? Because it was a very famous case in Sheffield. Was it called the Postcode Wars or something like that?
Yeah, it was. I think the Kemp brothers did a documentary on it a few years back. So a lot of the gang activity was brought into school as well, which I didn't know at the time if the school was even aware of the fact these 11, 12, 13-year-old children were all out there after school hours together. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I don't think the school realised that we were a lot closer connected than what we thought. You know what I mean? So, and then in the end, it spilled out from school into the streets, and people got hurt.
So how did you end up getting? Because I believe you went to prison first of all for accessory to murder.
I was arrested for conspiracy. Because I was speaking to Jonathan the night he was murdered.
Yeah.
And it came out that I didn't know anything was going to happen. I was present, but I wasn't involved. But then, because of the fact that I was oblivious, I was moved on a protection order by social services, saying I was being exploited.
So when you talk about the gangs, what was the sort of the appeal of being in a gang to you? Because I suppose it gives you a sense of belonging.
Well, yeah, it weren't just belonging. It was I've grew my whole childhood without my family, without my brothers. I wouldn't even call us a gang. We were just friends. We were just a group of friends that happened to just chill every day. Really, we would never split more up into groups of 4. There'd be certain times of the day in the area that we grew up in where there would be dispersals. We had to stand in groups of 4, otherwise there was a crime to stand in more than 4. I think in the end, it just, the feud on the street that was happening, it was over petty stuff. It was over self-pride, I would say, like a sense of belonging, and also a sense of power and control. These people wanted control over everyone.
So that sort of ultimate led to the murder of Jonathan, who was your best friend.
He was a close friend. I mean, we used to chill every day. After school, before school. It was sad. It was sad. I still cry every year, and it's tragic what happened to Jonathan.
Yeah. Do you mind telling us, and I might be pushing you a little bit, but about that night?
Well, to be fair, it was all normal. There was nothing untoward. There was nothing like to suggest that anything was going to go off the way it did. We met up. We went to the park. We had our little Sony Ericsson phones with the little speakers attached to them, and we were playing other niche music, and we were having a little drink of WKD, and we were having a little smoke, and everything was fine. And it's like literally in the blink of an eye, everything happened so quick. Really, it was just literally in the blink of an eye.
And what happened to Jonathan? How did he die?
Jonathan was shot dead on Wednesday, the 17th of October.
So you were 13. You moved now out of Sheffield into Liverpool, and you put in.
Originally they moved me to close cities. So it was Doncaster, then it was Barnsley. I stayed with a number of carers. And in the end, ultimately, it was too close that I could just go back. I was just running home. Basically, I wanted to go home. I did meet my mum. Although my mum was like not really stable, it was still some sort of family. I found it quite hurtful by social services that they placed us so close together, and we didn't have a clue. He was only lived about a mile away from where I lived. I literally lived next to my brother my whole life and didn't even know that my brother was there.
Yeah. So you've been moved to Liverpool in the end and put in a secure unit in Liverpool, yeah?
Yeah.
And so how did that go?
Well, at first it was changing. I had like a bit of a, I was hurt. I was just being dragged away from my foster carer. As much as what happened was severe, I disagree with the move taking me away from my carer at that time. I feel like, although I know that my carer had some personal problems with her life and her marriage, but at the same time, I felt like I was to blame. Do you know what I mean? I think, although she says to me to this day that I'm not to blame, I think to myself, I kind of am. Do you know what I mean? And I kind of accept that. So I feel like when I first came to Liverpool, I'd lost everything. I was angry at the world, really. So the first 6 to 12 months I spent basically fighting the system, fighting the care home. And then I realised that I'm not gonna. This is one of them care homes that I can't kick off and get moved from. This is one of them care homes that if I run away, they don't move me on. They bring me straight back. And there's at a certain time doors get locked. And that's how it is. It's basically a prison for children. Yeah.
And something it's quite significant happened whilst you were in that particular secure unit there. I think that probably changed the course of your life, I presume. But do you want to talk about that?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, growing up in the secure unit, obviously, like I said, I was angry at the world, so that reflected in my behaviour. So not only through like the SMA schools, I displayed like volatile behaviour that continued into secure settings. So I was constantly involved in altercations with staff, altercations with young people, and police was like a regular thing. And then throughout the years, staff tried to work with me and tried to, think of different strategies. But unfortunately, some staff don't like to follow policy and procedures. They like to take their own initiative and try and force you in a way, in an unethical way, to confine, in my opinion. And I think that's where certain members of staff, like there was a specific member of staff where he would use financial like elements of my life to control my behaviour. And that same member of staff would use like force, like he would challenge, like fight fire with fire, so to speak. And in the end, when you fight fire with fire, you end up with an inferno. And there was other elements as well. There was the mental abuse. He would constantly remind me that I'm not in Sheffield. He was sexually explicit. Sometimes he would. I don't know. It's like he would tell me to go and clean my room, and I'll clean my room spotless because I just wanted my daily bonus so I can go out and be gone, really. And it would constantly make me do my room. It was weird. It's just the way he carried himself. He just, in my words now, he's very primal. I would say he was a primal man. He would like get his penis out and like helicopter it, and he'll just mock me, and he'll make sexual references, and he'll bring me down. And in the end, I ended up, like when I left the care home, I ended up going back and I've had a fight with him, which ultimately see me get jailed.
So this is a member of staff whose job it is to care for you and to support you and help you, and he's taking his penis out and making sexual references.
Yeah, he done it to other YPs as well, and they kind of met the same fate as me. I've seen people before challenge him over the years, and I've seen each and every single one of them children be taken out the care home and gone. I don't even know what happened to them. It was a very big deterrent to stand up to him.
So you then come out of that particular service? Because I suppose, how old are you now when you leave that service?
Well, because of my full care order, I was signed into care until I'm 25, whereas usually someone who's on like a Section 21, which is like a semi-accommodated order, they're only on care until they're 18. The social service have no legal obligation to assist after the age of 18. With me, they have no choice. So I had social involvement until I was 25, and to be honest, it was diabolical. When I was moved from Sheffield Authority to Liverpool region, they still kept me down as a Sheffield case. So my social workers, my support network, my family, my social service, everything like that was based in Yorkshire. The problem was I was in a secure unit in Liverpool being abused.
Yeah.
And that was the issue.
Yeah. So you come out of there, and that wasn't your last secure accommodation, was it?
Unfortunately not. I went to jail. I ended up getting arrested for 2 charges. Seeing me get a 4-year sentence, where I ultimately served 2.
So this was because of the guy that was physically, emotionally, and I presume sexually, well, you said it, sexually abusing you.
Yeah. And then I went back down towards the care home, and I said to the member of staff, "It's your turn now. Like it's you that I want." I wasn't there anymore. I knew that if I'd done him, I knew that I'd be able to go away and not have to deal with him again. Because the worst thing about it is when he'd done these things, that member of staff would get you arrested, for example, and then the next day when the police decide to release you, it ultimately would be the same member of staff that picks you up from the station. So the same member of staff who put you into the station is then picking you up from the station, and you feel the control evaporate from you. You think to yourself, "This is an endless fight." You start isolating. It leads to depression. It leads to mental health. It leads to suicidal thoughts, and that ultimately, I don't know. I think in the end, when it all came out, I told the authorities what was going on, and I told them about the setup as well in that organisation. Like it wasn't as open and cut as it appears. Like the management that were there knew this person personally. They lived on the same street. I can't believe that it was handled how it was handled. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I did go to prison.
So you go to prison, and which prison did you go to then?
Spent my time in HMP Dearbolt.
So anything happened in Dearbolt that you?
Yeah, Dearbolt, to be honest, was one of the roughest jails I've been to. I've done a lot of jail over the years, and that was by far the most physically demanding.
So you go to Dearbolt for the issue that you had with that member of staff at the secure unit.
Yeah.
And how long did you serve in Dearbolt?
I think I did just over a year in Dearbolt. I was on remand for a while in Alt Course, and then when I got sentenced, I got moved to Dearbolt.
Right, and then you come out of there.
Yeah, come out. I was even more angry at the world. Yeah. Whilst I was in custody, they made me do courses on victim empathy. Which at the time just absolutely destroyed my mindset. Like, you expected me to feel sorry for this man, and I don't, for what he's done and what I've seen him do. I said that openly. I admitted that I don't feel any remorse. And it just went from bad to worse for me, really. I got told that I showed no emotion, that I'm emotionless, that I'm dissocial.
So let me just get this right then, make sure I've got the timeline right. So just go back a little bit. So you go into a secure unit, you've got a member of staff that's abusing you in numerous different ways. You come out of that secure unit, you attack the member of staff.
No, I went back with another YP because another YP had left the care home as well. Now he wanted to go back to ask for certain stuff off the manager. I was actually reluctant to go there. I was saying to him, "Look, I don't want to go down there. Do you know what I mean? don't really want to, but he went down and he was met with confrontation, and that confrontation rapidly stemmed from like him to me, and then when it came to me, it was with that specific member of staff who challenged me, and I just took my coat off, lad, straight away, and was like, I'm not a member, I'm not a YP anymore, lad. Like, come off the premises, then, mate. And he did. It's a senior member of staff coming out of the premises to fight an ex-resident, but there was it's beyond me.
Right. Okay, we'll come back and we'll talk more about that in a second, but we're just going to take a quick break.
Behaviour Smart is the only incident recording system that gives expert advice on behaviour issues, creates effective behaviour plans, and makes analysing behaviour data easy. With AI functionality, Behaviour Smart is developed by staff working in education, care, and healthcare services alongside behaviour experts. Just take a look at our reviews. Visit our website now and we will give you free access to eSmart, our e-learning platform, just for listening to this ad, or sign up for your free trial of Behaviour Smart.
Welcome back, Kieran. Just having a quick drink. So, between you coming out of that particular service and going into alt course, you then ended up in Strange Ways for a period.
No, well, I actually did another sentence before Strange Ways. I was involved in a lot of criminal activity. I was a ticking time bomb. The fact that I ended up going back to prison for different charges was no surprise to me. I kind of ended up in jail for my ex-partner and for drug offences, and then I did my sentence. I got 4 years again. Did 2. Came out after that 2. That's when I went back in. Did the same again. Was on remand in alt course, but this time when I got shit from alt course after I got sentenced to Strange Ways, and then I caught kind of a big sentence in Strange Ways. I did.
Now, Strange Ways, obviously I've spoken to you before about this. This was a bit of a turning point for you in terms of what happened to you next, because I'm sure a lot of people that are listening are wondering where this is going and why this story is so inspirational. But do you just want to tell the listeners, tell us what happened in Strange Ways that made things change, really?
So I was moved from alt course on a security ship out for an incident in alt course, which meant that when I first arrived at Strange Ways, I was on what the prison call a croft ban, which for everyone who doesn't know what that is, that means that I'm confined to the wing. I can't leave the wing. The only time I could leave the wing was if I had a healthcare appointment or visits. I wouldn't be able to go like to education or to industries. I couldn't do any of that. So because I was in my cell and I couldn't go to education, they've got to offer you education. So because I was doing nothing at the time, and I was kind of depressed at this point. I'd just been sentenced. I had at least another 4 year left on my sentence. Literally, like I think it was 3 years, 9 months I had left. I wasn't getting out anytime soon. I'd just been shipped from my local jail to a jail I don't know. I was kind of a fish out of water, and I thought I'd reach out to the chaplain, sir. I thought I'd reach out to the education department in the prison. I'd done an assessment booklet for English and maths, just some random, I don't know, just they gave it me and said, can you fill that in? I was like, yeah, sure. 5-10 minutes later, yeah, I've done that. And they said, have you done it already? I was like, yeah. And they went, okay, no worries. The next day, I've come to my cell and they've gone, right, Mace, out here. So I'm like, well, early in the morning, rubbing my eyes, thinking, what's this? It's been some woman I've never seen before. She looked dead formal, with some like neck thing with a badge. And there was the education department, the one who'd done my assessment. They sat me down and questioned me about my educational background, which at the time I was like, well, never liked school, never went to school. When I did go to school, kicked off, got sent home. You know, that's kind of my educational background. And she was like, well, you've answered every question correct. Like, you know, we're just curious to know what your background is. Not everyone gets all these questions right. And I said, do you mind doing another one for us? And we just like observe you. So I was like, that's fine. So I'm sat there on the wing now, doing this thing. 10 minutes later, I pass it back. They're checking it, and then before long, I was like 2 weeks later after that, they said to me they'll be in touch. Never heard nothing, didn't think nothing of it. 2 weeks later, I get a call that I'm up for a visit, and I'm thinking, I haven't booked a visit. And it was the Open University representative for the jail asking me if I wanted to do a course, because of my criteria at the time, the sentence I was doing, I could complete a course. So at the time, it was, to be honest, it was a way to get an income in the jail, because whilst I'm doing this course, I get paid like £2.40 a day, and at the time I had no job. So I was like, yeah, go on, I'll do it just for the money. Before long, I actually really enjoyed it. I got offered a cleaner's job on the wing, which means I was now on like £35 a week. I was moved cell to a 3-man cell on my own. I was doing really well. The position I established in jail, I just buckled down. If I wasn't studying my course, I was doing my job, which I became. Well, I was a cleaner, and then I did a mentoring course through the education department, but it's through the library, but through the education. And I got again, we get paid for this. I mean, jail is really good at encouraging people to learn. So if you've got the initiative to learn, then jail's got endless resources for you.
Yeah.
But I rapidly realised that. So I put all that into excellent use. I did law and sociology. I ended up getting a 2.1. Regards to the side courses, I picked English literature and creative writing. And then as a pastime, because I was still had time on my hands, funnily enough, I decided to do religious studies. And I did that for 3 years. And then when it came to getting out, to be honest, I kind of didn't want to go. I was all right in there, to be fair. Towards the end.
You ended up like with a law degree.
Yeah.
So you go to Strange Ways, get into the education department, and you come out with a law degree. I mean, that and what did you do with your law degree? Because I don't think you just left it there, did you, Kieran?
This is where I kind of had like what's it called, an epiphany, and I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna fight back. But I'm gonna fight back with this, and oh shit, I took on the social services. I was successful. I got a big confidence boost after that, a very nice sum of money. And then I thought, right, at this point, I'm still getting harassed by Merseyside police and by South Yorkshire police. I'm getting property seized. I'm getting arrested for stuff, and I'm not even doing these things. And I thought to myself, well, I'm going to challenge them. Next thing you know, the police are backing off. Everything's getting their properties coming back. You know, they're stopping me, and they're like, you know, the cameras are on. Everything's above board now, and I just tried offering people advice, and it's kind of what I do now. I love helping people with any kind of legal problem, because people don't know. You know what I mean?
So, in a nutshell, you have problems as a child, and you go into these different services where you're not being treated properly. Go to Strange Ways, get a law degree, and then literally sue the pants off anybody that's done you wrong.
I've just carried that on all the way through, really. Whenever my friends or family members, especially my family, if they have any legal problems, then I can point them in the right direction.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And now, as well as giving people legal support and advice, what I need to tell people is that you're also an amazing keynote speaker. You just blow people away. You just blow people away when you stand up there and tell your story. So it's such a cool thing that you're doing, and I can't believe how proud I am of you. And I never did ask you, this question. I'm asking you live now. Okay, so
No pressure.
why did you phone me?
We were talking. I was on. It's funny enough. It's mad, you know. I was talking to a mates in America. There's one kid in the party from England who's my mate in Liverpool, and the other two were from America. And he was talking about like how, you know, people from who we met from back in the days like helped him out recently, and he was talking about people that we know we can't like forget and that. And I said there was a member of staff in this school I was in. I said I never forget him. You stood out above all the rest. So when they said, who do you remember from your childhood who you wish you could speak to again? I said Dean Cotton. And then it got me thinking, Dean Cotton. I said, you know what? He's always like, I always had you clued up. I was thinking he's smart, him. I said, let's just Google him. Because he's always up to something. And he was. Yeah. And then when you answered, I was like, oh, put it down dead fast. Like, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah. And well, Kieran, you know what? It's an absolute pleasure to have you as the first guest on episode 1 of the Behaviour Smart Podcast. And what we're going to do with all our guests that come on, we're going to ask them to tell us either their most embarrassing moment ever or their claim to fame. So, Kieran, embarrassing moment or claim to fame? It's up to you. Which one do you want to do?
Probably do a bit of both. A bit embarrassing and a bit of a claim to fame as well. Before I went to custody, I was working, you know, doing as what jobs I can now. I was actually working for Café Rouge.
All right.
It was like a French restaurant. Very, very posh. Very posh. It was very, very posh. Believe it or not, I was on front of the house. Believe it or not. But I was a bit of a bit rough, ready on the edges. I've gone to serve a table, and I've gone up, and at first it never clicked in my head. Well, it's been Gok Wan at the table, which is like, people don't know, is like a major fashion designer. Is huge. Me being me, all right, mate, you know, what you having, lad? And he stood up and he's like, no. Started fixing my tie for me. Went like that, said, that's better, and then told me his order. And I walked away like thinking, oh my God, he just fixed my tie. My boss is looking at me. I'm like, oh.
So I don't know whether it's embarrassing or not, but I suppose Gok Wan eating in Café Rouge, being served by Kieran Mace, and he adjusts your tie.
He fixed my tie for me. He fixed my tie for you. Joe, I wore that tie that day, the longest I ever wore a tie for. I went home and I was still sat at 10 o'clock at night watching telly with my tie on, thinking I don't even want to take it off.
That's brilliant. And if anybody wants to have Kieran come and do a keynote talk at your service, just get in touch with me and I'll liaise with Kieran. And he's absolutely amazing keynote speaker. But Kieran, like I say, absolute privilege and honour to have you on the first episode. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You're welcome. And thanks to everybody for listening to the first ever Behaviour Smart Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. Tune in for the next one.
This was the Behaviour Smart Podcast, brought to you by Behaviour Smart, the incident recording system that improves behaviour. Join us next time, and thanks for listening.